Hi, welcome to the next section, Composing Event-Based Programs Using Reactive Extensions. This section deals with reactive extensions, Rx. Let's begin with the video, Installing Rx. Often during your day-to-day dealings with developing applications in C#, you will have to use asynchronous programming. You might also have to deal with many data sources. Think of a web service that returns the current exchange rates, a Twitter search returning a stream of related data, or even different events generated by multiple computers. Rx provides us an elegant solution in the form of the iObserver-T interface. You use the iObserver-T interface to subscribe to the events. Then the iObservable-T interface, which maintains a list of iObserver-T interfaces, will notify them of the change of state. In essence, Rx will stick together multiple data sources that generate data. Rx therefore brings these data sources together in one interface. In fact, Rx can be thought of as consisting of three sections. Observables, the interface that brings together and represents all these data streams. Language Integrated Query, LINQ, the ability to use LINQ to query these multiple data streams. Schedulers, parameterizing concurrency using schedulers. The question on many minds might be why developers should use or find a use for Rx. Here are a few examples where Rx is really useful. Creating a search that has an autocomplete function. You don't want the code to perform a search for each value you type in the search area. Rx allows you to throttle the search, making the UI of your application more responsive. Being notified when data changes instead of having to poll the data for changes. Think of real-time stock prices. Before we can begin exploring Rx, we need to install it. The easiest way to do this is by using NuGet. For this section on Rx, we will not create a separate class. All the code will be written in a console application. So first create a console application. And then right-click on your solution and select Manage NuGet Packages for Solution from the context menu. In the window that is displayed afterwards, type in system.reactive in the search text box and click on the Install button. And then click on the OK button to confirm the changes to the project. After the installation is complete, you will see the references added to the Rx under the References node in your project. NuGet is by far the easiest way to add additional components to your projects. As you can see from the added references, system.reactive is the main assembly. To gain a better understanding of system.reactive, view the assemblies in Object Browser. System.reactive.linq contains all the querying functionality in Rx. You'll also notice that system.reactive.concurrency contains all the schedulers. Now we will look at the differences between events and observables. Being developers, we should all be quite familiar with events. Most developers have been creating events since we started writing code. In fact, if you have even dropped a button control on a form and double-clicked the button to create the method that handles the click of the button, you have created an event. In .NET, we can declare events using the event keyword, publish to the event by invoking it, and subscribe to that event by adding a handler to the event. We therefore have the operations declare publish and subscribe with Rx. We have a similar structure where we declare a data stream, publish data to that stream, and subscribe to it. First, we will see how an event works in C#. We will then see the working of an event using Rx, and in doing so, highlight the differences. Before starting, add some namespaces. In your console application, add a new class called .NET. To this class, add a property called AvailableDataType. In the main program class, add a new static action event called Types. Basically, this is just a delegate and will receive some value, in our case, the available.NET data types. Inside void main, create a list.NET class called ListTypes. Inside this list, add several values of type .NET class. Here we just added hard-coded data of some of the data types in .NET. Our next task is to subscribe to this event with an event handler that is simply outputting the value of X to the console window. We then raise the event each time we loop through our list types list by adding the line types. In reality, before raising an event, we should always check that the event isn't null. Only after this check should we raise the event. For brevity, we have not added this check before raising the event. Running your application will set our list with values, and then raise the event created to output the values of the list to the console window. Let's see the working of events using Rx. You need to add the system.reactive.subjects namespace to your project, as subjects live in this separate namespace. Add a static subject of string. After the code that created the list of .NET, we used this method, += to wire up an event handler. This time around, we will use subscribe. This is the IObservable portion of the code. After you've added this, raise the event using the onNext keyword. This is the IObserver portion of the code. Therefore, as we loop through our list, we will call onNext to pump out the values to the subscribed IObservable interface. When you run your application, you will see the same items are output to the console window as it did earlier. Rx allows you to have objects that are just publishers or just subscribers. This is because the IObservable and IObserver interfaces are in fact separate. Also note that in Rx, the observables can be passed as parameters, returned as results, and stored in variables, which makes them first class. Rx also allows you to specify that the event stream is completed or that an error occurred. This really sets Rx apart from events in .NET. Also, it is important to note that including the system.reactive.lin namespace in your project allows developers to write queries over the subject type, because a subject is an IObservable interface. This is another feature that sets Rx apart from the events in .NET.